Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. So one thing that I strongly Peter disagree with the other Peter Bum Bum is that he thinks that only gold and the other Peter Bum Bum thinks that only gold and silver are money. Right now I'm eyeing palladium. It's going into a 5-6 year low. It's nowhere near the kind of ratio that silver is with gold in terms of low, right? Silver is way more undervalued right now. Even platinum is somewhat undervalued right now. But even more undervalued is some of the other strategic metals. And to give you an idea of how ridiculously overvalued, how much artificial value humans put into gold, it's almost like a 5,000-year-old cryptocurrency. If you go to Wikipedia and look up the abundance of elements in Earth's crust, gold is right here. Silver is obviously way more common than gold. And to give you an idea of how undervalued gold is, there are quite a few elements that are rarer than gold in the Earth's crust and considerably less expensive, most notably tellurium and even rhenium, which I recently bought some. And I believe osmium and ruthenium, right now iridium's going for a little bit more than gold, but osmium and ruthenium are going for the other metal that I'm keeping an eye on right now as I speak is rhodium. But you know what? Palladium and rhodium do way worse when there's a recession. And right now we're probably already in a recession. It's not being officially called out. There are two ways they're hiding the recession. Number one, they're underreporting the inflation rate, right? So even though GDP might be nominally growing 4%, they're claiming that inflation's only 3%. When in reality, it's probably more like 8%, right? So that's one way they hide the recession. Lately, they've been outright denying that GDP shrinking is a recession, right? They did that at the beginning of 2022. Had they actually called it out, it would have been a great opportunity to buy either palladium, platinum, or rhodium, right? Those things tend to lag during a recession. And then below silver, you have bismuth being rarer than silver, and you have even selenium, although there's really not a good way to store physical selenium. And if you look at how much, the other way to measure rarity of metals in the Earth's crust is to look at how much we mine every year. Now, some of the metals, like, for example, tellurium, it's rare. But even more so when you look at how much is produced, because tellurium can only be produced as a byproduct of a number of other elements, right? Indium is not so rare. Indium is right about here, but we only produce 655 tons every year. And the reason for that is that it's very dispersed, right? And it's going to get even more dispersed as humans don't recycle some of this stuff, right? So you buy a cell phone that is touchscreen, it has some number of grams of indium in it, and you throw it into a landfill. Well, those few grams of indium get dispersed into the landfill, and it's very difficult to separate indium from all the other crap in the landfill, right? Someday we might have to resort to biomining, right? Or in the case of bismuth, you swallow some Pepto-Bismol, and it goes into the sewage system, and then the sewage, the sludge gets put into a landfill, and one day we might... The same happens with nutrients, by the way. If you eat certain minerals in your food, you take those minerals off of the farm, and it goes into sewage sludge, right? And that's something that we'll have to think about in the future, right? Anyway, so if you look at how much is produced, let's sort them by this order instead. And you can see that the hardest ones to produce are thallium. Well, thallium's not hard to produce. It's environmentally challenging, right? And then rhenium, thallium and rhenium, two metals that I own. We only produce 10 tons of thallium and 47.2 tons of rhenium each year because of how dispersed. Well, actually, no, rhenium's pretty rare. Thallium we don't produce because it's toxic, right? Some of these other things like germanium and platinum are because they're dispersed, right? Same thing with indium. Anyways, so humans are irrationally fascinated with gold for no good reason, right? And I believe the technological age will change that when we realize that, hey, it's indium and thallium and bismuth and rhenium that are actually doing the hard work of keeping our society together. And I think attitudes will shift there. I can't wait to see the shift out of precious metals into strategic. I don't know if I'll live long enough to see that, but I have enough precious metals, so I'm kind of taking a speculation there. So, yes, strategic metals might not be money. You'll probably never barter somebody, hey, how much does that cost? How many pounds of thallium? Right? You're probably never, or even bismuth, right? You're probably never going to see that day. What you might see is money go out of style altogether as we go into a post-scarcity technological society, right? This is the Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum.